Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Pop Go the Writers. Yeah, I'm Dan. That's Jim. We are going to talk about the She-Hulk episode 7, Andor episode 4, and Rings of Power episode 3, 6, 6.
Six.
And it's you were asking me if I ever hear anything from people. I did get a message to after last show from Paul Story.
Oh, I was just thinking of him.
And he says how much it does his heart good to see that I'm continuing the pop sound.
Oh, good.
That was him. I wasn't doing that.
Okay, the pops meet his exacting specifications.
Yeah. Because that was his thing. He was doing the pop sounds. And, it's like, it just didn't seem right without it at that point after, when we switched and stuff. So
shout out to Paul.
Well,
good. I hope he could maybe join us some week.
Yeah. I'm sure we can bring him back for some stuff. Also, I want to try to bring back Dan Taylor, who was one of the original co-hosts, because I know he's doing this great thing down in Tennessee. He's DMing for comedians through a comedy club. So he's doing Dungeons and Dragons with comedians live, and they do a podcast off of that.
Wow.
And now he's doing a Sunday morning podcast with Stephen Connolly about Dungeons and Dragons. So
maybe I need him in my book. I just put out the writer's call for the follow-up to Rising Sun reruns, and we're going to talk about playing old school tabletop role-playing games as kids all the way up through the age of 17. So maybe
he'd be a good one to reach out to.
Yeah,
hey,
definitely.
Amy, good to see you. Glad you could make it.
Yeah, hi, Amy.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into, before we do, please tell folks about your latest book.
Oh, yeah, boy, I mentioned it. So Rising Sun reruns, the subtitle is Memories of Japanese TV Shows from Today's Grown-Up Kids. So this is volume 3 in the Memories from Today's Grown-Up Kids series. The first one was about G.I. Joe. Second one about Dark Shadow. So this is about all those great Japanese TV shows that were imported to the West, beginning in the 60s and all the way up into the early 90s. Shows like Ultraman and Johnny Sacco and Star Blazers, Battle of the Planets, Kimba, Speed Racer, Spectre Man, and a host of others. And basically what it is a whole bunch of writers, in fact 26 of us, sitting down and telling stories of when we were kids sitting in front of the TV and watching these amazing shows out of the East.
Very cool. I'm trying to grab a link real quick.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I had thought about it, I would have brought the cover with me. I don't actually have copies myself. I order them, and it takes longer for me to get them because I'm ordering them as author copies. But we're really excited, and we really want to get some feedback on the book. The Dark Shadows book just was immense for me. The Dark Shadows fans really embraced that book. They really loved reading other people's memories, and I'm hoping that all the people who love all these great Japanese TV shows will embrace this book and really see some similar threads to their own lives when they were kids watching these shows.
Not having any luck here. Let me try this. Yeah, it doesn't seem to want to just give me the link.
Let's see. I can usually do this pretty easily. Let's see. Yeah, here's the oops. God, I'm so blind I can barely see. Okay, and Dan, I'm sending it to you in Messenger. There's a very short link. There's that.
All right.
See if that works for you.
Copy link address.
But anyways, we'd really appreciate some reviews on the book.
That short link turned very long.
Oh, it's funny every time it doesn't do that when I use it on Facebook.
Let me try this.
Well, if you folks go to Amazon and type in Rising Sun reruns, and or go to my author page, Jim Beard, the author page, and it's the first book right on there.
Yep, I think I got it to work there.
Yeah, great, groovy. Thanks, Dan.
No problem. So definitely check that out. Jim does a lot of great books. I mean, besides, go to his author page, check out the other books he's been working on too. I mean, there's some great stuff there.
Thank you very much.
So, all right, let's go ahead and talk about She-Hulk.
All righty.
Because I think that's.
You mean the show that made me very, very angry at the end of this episode?
Were you angry for Jen?
I was, yeah.
Yeah.
And on more than one level, the betrayal is just immense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's tantamount to well, maybe I shouldn't go there. I was going to say it's tantamount to rape, but maybe I need to soften that a little bit. It depends on what he did and if he does really have a blood sample.
Yeah, they kind of leave the sample part of it vague.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the start of the episode, and then we'll get to the end.
Yeah.
Because this episode, I'm going to do a quick recap. Doesn't have a B plot. There's no Nikki or Pug or Mallory or anything like that. They just go straight into a Jen story. We start off with Jen spending a week dating Josh that she met at the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like a really good relationship. They're having fun. They're going out. And after a few dates and stuff, they end up sleeping together.
Mm-hmm.
And then she wakes up the next morning alone.
Mm-hmm. Could be lots of reasons for that.
Right. He could have had to go to work, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So she texts him, hey, that was fun. I'm still smiling. I can't stop smiling.
Mm-hmm.
And then spends the next few days waiting for a reply, not getting it, and obsessing over her phone.
I was going to say, yeah, don't put it mildly. She becomes obsessed.
She does. She becomes absolutely obsessed with the fact that she's
doing that thing where you keep flicking the screen to make sure that it, the scrolling is happening.
Yeah. It's like I still have connection. Yeah, all of that. And she ends up getting a call from Blonsky's parole officer,
mm-hmm.
and his ankle, or not his ankle bracelet, but his inhibitor, the one that keeps him from being able to transform, is not working or is malfunctioning. So he wants to go up there and doesn't want to go alone, wants a little She-Hulk backup.
With good reason. I would say with good reason. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jen meets him up there, and then in doing so, they find out Blonsky, he's got this camp set up. It's really nice. Huge amount of acreage.
How much time has passed? See, that's the thing that it's not a huge thing with me, but it's like he set up an awful lot in what kind of time are we looking at here?
Yeah, I thought about that, but I gave him credit for that. His brides were probably working on this before he ever got out.
Interestingly enough, not mentioned.
Yeah, not mentioned, not seen.
Mm-hmm.
But and that goes with my theory. But so he checks. He accidentally hit the electric fence with it when he was trying to save his favorite chicken, Princess Silk Feathers, and they get it to work. The parole officer just hops in his car and peels out.
Yeah.
Gone. And then they're walking Jen out, and two of his, what would you call them? Proteges or
patients? Yeah, I would say that's literally how I saw it. They're patients.
Yeah, patients, guests at his retreat, end up fighting and destroying her car, which doesn't really seem like much of an accident at this point. It feels kind of set up, and it's we meet two interesting characters: El Aguilar, who is not a matador.
He made that very, very clear, didn't he?
Yes, and Man Bull, and these, of course, are both characters from the comics.
I knew them both.
Yeah, me too.
As soon as I saw the bull, I was like, Man Bull, that's Man Bull.
Yep. Man Bull was a little vaguer for me. I mean, I know the character, but El Aguilar, I remember when he came out, buying the issue, thinking that's kind of a cool character. And
he's a mutant.
He's a mutant with bioelectric energy that he channels through his sword blade.
Yeah. Now, we didn't have confirmation that he is a mutant in the MCU.
Right.
But he is a mutant, and he does have bioelectric powers.
Yes, gets in trouble for using it.
Yeah.
And then, and they break her car, so she's stuck there.
Yeah.
So then she ends up spending time on the retreat, eventually finding her way into the group therapy session, and where we also meet Saracen. And I guess there's two Saracens in Marvel Comics. The one I know to be is basically a vampire from Blade.
Yeah.
But there's also a mercenary named Saracen from Punisher.
I kind of wondered if they are looking at it as a combination, more or less, of the two.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yes. And the best character of all.
Yeah.
Porcupine.
With a comic accurate outfit, right down to the face mask. Just amazing.
A thing of beauty, because I remember Porcupine from the comics. And by the way, there is a barcode. I'm trying to remember where it is. And it takes you to Porcupine's first appearance.
Okay, a QR code.
Yeah, QR code.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it. Well, you know what? There's like Blonsky has all different like posters and things up. So
it might be on one of his posters. Yeah.
Let me interject this. And I don't disagree with you necessarily. You suspected of what happened to Jen's car as being on purpose to get her to stay. Let's backtrack just a little bit. Do you suspect the parole officer being with it because he was the one that got Jen to go there in the first place?
I don't know if it's that deep. Maybe.
So that means that Blonsky would have been surprised by Jen's appearance, maybe, and then they hatch a plot.
No, I think that he put his anklet, his thing into the thing to bring her up there, and it was a calculation. Now, because he said
that's kind of a crapshoot.
Well, he says that the sheriff units aren't available to go, so can you go?
Yeah.
So maybe they just blocked the sheriffs from going.
I'm not disagreeing with you. It was still a roll of the dice that she would go. Okay, so you weren't getting any strange vibes from the parole officer then? No,
but it wouldn't surprise me either way. Okay. Because, I mean, basically, you can't trust any of the men in this entire series except for Pug.
No.
I'm not even sure Pug.
In some ways, it's a shame because we really started to feel sympathy or something for Blonsky, but that whole thing where he's sitting there and the parole officer is fixing the inhibitor and everything made me squirm, because it's like, Blonsky, you're acting weirder than weird. Like, and then he has a guest or a patient or whatever with bioelectric powers who could have zapped that inhibitor. And is it just to create a situation to bring her up there, or is it also that he goes out and does something as Abomination?
I think it was to get Jen out of the city for some reason.
Okay.
Now I'm not sure what it is. See, I think we're getting. It's going to be one of those cases where everything is revealed, and then we see all the machinations going up to it.
This one I completely agree with you on, and it's going to just be one big string of, and this and this and this and this and this, Jen. And basically, Jennifer, your entire life is just one big setup now, and now you die.
Yeah, the only things that I think are necessarily not related to the intelligentsia, I think her getting hired at GLK&H was completely separate.
Okay.
I think that was Holloway on his own.
Okay.
I think Titania breaking into the thing was part of it. But I don't think after that, I think they used her and then moved on.
Yeah. It's going to be the She-Hulk Revenge Squad, like the old Superman Revenge Squad. All of her old villains all together at once.
Yep. So yeah, I think we're going to find out. Well, I think next episode will be the Daredevil episode.
Well, wait a minute. Was this 7 or 6?
This was 7.
Well, then we only have one episode left.
There's 9.
Oh, it's 9. It's 9. It's 9. It's 9.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, well, it would have to be Daredevil. Okay. But
I think
I would say maybe Daredevil in the next 2. Huh?
Daredevil's only supposed to be in 1.
Oh.
And I think that's fine. I think we'll get Hulk back for the finale. And there's a good chance that him being sent off planet was part of the Intelligentsia's plan as well.
Yeah, because I think it was you that I said maybe in this case the Intelligentsia is a stand-in for the Illuminati from the comics that sent that Bruce off. And then maybe the very end will be the lead into whatever Mark Ruffalo is going to get, either a series or a movie.
Yeah. So I do think there's going to be a whole bunch of chess moves, and I don't think we'll get a full reveal of the leader. I think we'll get a shadowy reveal, and then we'll wait and we'll see him in Captain America: New World Order. But
here's my prediction: whatever is coming is going to be called World War Hulks.
Possible.
And it's going to be Jen and Bruce, the cousins, together.
I think we're going to end up with a battle between. There's a chance. I think we're going to end up with a battle between Hulk and Blonsky, and She-Hulk and Red She-Hulk, who's going to be Mallory Book. That's just where I see them going right now. Again, wild ass speculation.
Okay.
But that's where it feels like to me. I think Daredevil's going to come in for 1. I think this Lawyer of the Year award thing is going to be a setup as well.
Yeah. Suspect everything and suspect everyone now.
Yep.
I don't think Nikki's in on anything.
No, I don't think Nikki's in on anything. Yeah. I don't think Luke Jacobson is. I think him making the costumes. I don't think Pug is. And like I said, I don't think Holloway is either. I think he genuinely, and I think one of the catalysts was him picking She-Hulk when Mallory thought it should be Mallory.
Right.
So, and that was one of the things that started rolling things forward.
Yeah.
So,
and you got one more character that came into this episode.
Oh yes, the Wrecker.
Mm-hmm.
showed up from the other, and then and he's super laid back all of a sudden. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, nah, I don't believe any of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't
And
believe.
and again, it's a shame because there's some good heartfelt moments in it,
Oh yeah,
and and Jen's little monologue there towards the end, was really heartfelt and everything. And you kind of feel bad because they even if it's a setup, they did actually help her.
yes,
Whether or not they intended to, to get her defenses down, I guess. But there was one interesting thing that nobody has really been saying, and they're calling out the fact that Jen breaks the fourth wall again when she does the "Can you do the previously on?" But what's really interesting about that is that's a hearkening back to the way she used to talk to John Byrne directly. But because in this show, this is the first time that she's broken the fourth wall, but she's spoken to the creators
yep,
of the show, i.e., like the creator of the comic book that she used to talk to. So I thought that was a really interesting difference this time, was that she calls out to those invisible people that are making this show that she's on, and it's like, okay, can you do the previously on thing? And
see on that guy.
I loved it because she was absolutely correct. She turns to us and says, "Oh, you don't remember this guy, And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. Who is this again?" And then,
Yeah,
it's the wrecker.
yeah. But for me, one of my favorite things was Saracen when he was trying to pep her up or talk her up.
Yeah.
Because Jen is probably great and tasty. Help me out, guys! I'm going off the rails.
He had to go and ruin it, He was doing really good there, really well, and then he had to go ruin it.
Yep.
And tasty.
Hey, Mark, good to see you. So,
hey, Mark.
Yeah, so I think I laughed more in this episode than I have in any other.
Mm-hmm.
Just the interaction between the characters and Blonsky. I mean, oh my God. And there's some people theorizing that Blonsky, of course, being the setup in this, is why he wasn't part of the Thunderbolts announcement.
Oh.
So
that's another really good point, right? Because it would have ruined it,
Yeah. So I think it's going to be really fun to see the last two episodes of the series.
Yeah.
And I am super excited. This is off topic, but I am super excited for Werewolf by Night that comes out Friday.
Oh, I watched the featurette and I'm just all in. And here's me going, the heck with the werewolf. I just want to see Man-Thing. I want to see whoever knows fear burns at the touch of the Man-Thing. I hope they somehow fit that in there.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to say it, whether or not they do it with with their tongue in their cheek or whatever. Somebody's got to say whatever knows fear burns at the touch of the
Man-Thing. Yeah.
And then Steve Gerber can be smiling down from wherever he's at.
With the fact that this is a 70s or the old style campy, somebody will say it.
It's got to be. I love the look of it. I love what they're saying about it. That the director is like, yeah, this is totally an ode, to the old. You can see that it's Universal Monsters. You can see it's Hammer, and maybe even a little, later than that too. Yeah, I'm. What's the date on that?
What? It comes out the 7th.
Of what?
October.
No way.
Yeah, it comes out Friday.
I'm in New York City.
You can access Disney Plus on your laptop.
I know, but I don't want to watch something that cool on a little. No, I'll be watching it when I'm back. Yeah, I'm at New York Comic Con that weekend. Son of a beeswax. Oh.
Yeah. No,
Thanks, Dan. You just ruined my whole evening. Jeez, man.
Yeah. No, I am so looking forward to that. All right, we have to move on to the next topic if we're going to try to get all three in.
Sorry.
All right.
You started it.
Dealer's choice, Rings of Power or Andor?
Andor.
Okay, Andor.
Coruscant.
Oh man, I loved this episode. And
Yeah.
I mean, I really loved this episode. I remember coming to the end of it thinking that was really good. And I didn't
Yeah.
really have, I liked the first three,
Yeah. Same here.
but this one really got my attention. And I think it's Stellan Skarsgård. I think
Hmm.
it's Luthen that's
Mm-hmm.
really getting my attention. That
Mm-hmm.
we see him, of course, in his rebel manipulative way, first convincing Andor to join, figuring out money's his motivator, all that stuff, and then dealing with Vel, the woman outside, and her motivation is the rebellion and all that. And he's like, look, without him, we shut this down. So
Mm-hmm.
he manipulated both of them. And you see this, but then a few minutes later, he's alone on the ship and he opens up the secret compartment and changes back into his day clothes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a moment where he tucks his thumb in his pocket and he does his like this with his hand.
Yeah.
He's got his wig on, he's got the outfit on, and you just see his entire demeanor change.
It's a really wonderful moment where it's he's practicing his character.
Yeah.
The antiquities dealer that his front on Coruscant. Personally, it was to go to Coruscant meant everything to me. I love the environment. I have since Phantom Menace, and to be able to return there, in this show, and then to finally bring Mon Mothma into it, and she's everything that I hoped for.
Yeah.
I love the actress. I am so glad we get her back, and just everything. You know what it is? It's the idea of you're on Coruscant, and somewhere around there is the Emperor. Like, he's alive at this time, and he's the ruler of everything, and he's somewhere not too far away from where they're at. Is a really, really interesting thing, because it kind of hangs over, even though they don't even talk about him. It hangs over everything. That, oh my God, that evil guy is. You could open a door and he'd be standing there.
What for me, that moment where he does the hand raise,
Mm-hmm.
it reminded me of something that I saw live. Is in the second season of Dexter. There is, I don't know if you're a Dexter fan.
Mm-mm.
There's
that's not to say I don't. I just not up on it. Yeah.
There's an episode called The Dark Defender, and there's basically a dead body is found in a comic shop, and these two guys, an artist and a writer, have created this comic based off of the killer, the Bay City Butcher, and they call him the Dark Defender, and it makes it more into a hero.
Mm-hmm.
And Dexter is there examining the dead body and the killing, the death scene or the murder scene, and the poster's on the wall. And Michael C. Hall walks up, and he's got his kind of genial look that he has when he's the lab guy.
Yeah.
And then he looks up and sees this poster and this representation of him. And the look on his face shifts. And his whole demeanor goes from this nice guy to serial killer.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, literally will send chills down your spine.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason it stands out for me is because I was the dead body on the floor.
Oh, I was wondering where this was going.
I wasn't in that when they were filming that moment. I was backstage, but he does this poster on the wall in front of him, and then there's a doorway that leads to whatever the back of the shop is, but that's where like craft services is and everything else. And I'm sitting there on 2 orange crates waiting to go on stage so I can directly see him. I watched this shift.
Wow.
It was chilling. It really was, to see him do that, and to see the nice guy walking around the entire set that day. Yeah. And then suddenly to see that was like, oh God.
Are you familiar with the 1931 Bela Lugosi Dracula?
Of course.
Okay. There's a moment just like that in there. Dracula's at a dinner party, and he's the suave count from Hungary, and he's with the evening dress and his little he's got a little like monocle type of thing, whatever, that he's twirling around. And Van Helsing does the mirror trick on him. He opens up the cigarette box and he says, "There's something really amazing that I've discovered." He opens it up, and Lugosi slaps the box down or whatever. There's this wonderful thing. It's some of the best acting that Lugosi has ever done. He's just wild. His eyes are wild. He's feral at that moment. And within the space of just a few seconds, he morphs back into the suave count, and this smile comes over his face, and he says, "Very good, Van Helsing. You are very wise." That's what he says. And when he leaves, I love it because Jonathan Harker says, "Did you see his face like a wild animal?" And it really is. It's just that same kind of a thing that these actors can do. And you're right with Skarsgård. It's that it's that same thing. Just it was his whole carriage. He's got the hair thing on and the robes now, and then it's that whole thing. Just it was a really, really wonderful moment.
Yeah I thought it was fascinating. And you said you watched that featurette. I did as well. And I find it interesting. They talk about Diego Luna's on there with Tony Gilroy. And Tony, of course, is the writer-director on here, but he was also the writer and director of Rogue One. So he's been behind these characters the whole time.
Yeah.
And just the whole idea that we start this story with Andor, with Cassian at his lowest point. He's made the biggest mistake of his life.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're watching him, and he's just reacting, and he's just trying to, keep ahead of trouble. And we're going to watch as he's morphing into the kind of spy that Stellan Skarsgård is.
Mm-hmm.
The one who plans things, who's got things worked out, who is 3, 4, 5, 6 steps ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting watching that growth start,
Mm-hmm.
and he's been the first 3 episodes. He's reeling. He's reacting. He's not playing.
Yeah, definitely. I like that they gave him moments that he starts to show the rest of the group that he is worth something, that he can play a role. Because I was afraid like they're just going to totally reject this guy, straight out of the box, and he's never going to get a chance. But I like that he does begin to actually say, "Hey, I've got some experience, and I have some observations on what we're doing here or whatever." But I felt bad for him when they give him that his homework assignment that he's got to learn all the language or whatever, and overnight, literally.
Yes. Here, learn this language and then read all this stuff in that language. Really?
Yeah. The one guy that's kind of friendly to him, he's probably not long for this world.
No, he's
and you know what, Luthen probably is not going to make it out of this show. I'm assuming that he's might become a catalyst, the final catalyst to form Cassian into the guy that we see in Rogue One.
Yeah, but I think he's got to have. I don't think we'll lose him this season.
Maybe not. Yeah.
I think he's what's pulling all the factions together.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start getting Saw Gerrera, Mon Mothma, all these other factions. I'm curious who the person Mon Mothma wants to bring in. Is it going to be Bail Organa? Is it going to be someone we know?
Oh yeah, right. I'm going to say it's Bail. Yeah. I can't really see them being on Coruscant in that environment with the Senate and all that. I mean, we've seen that we're at some point we go to the Senate chambers and everything. It would be really weird an omission to not have Bail in there. And you know what? That led me to think about Leia. If my timeline is correct, Leia's about 14 years old. if she's about 19 at the beginning of A New Hope, and this is 5 years
BBY.
before that, and her thing is, at this point she's in the like junior Senate program where she's like learning, but I don't think they're going to have a 14-year-old Leia anywhere in this, but it made, just like the Emperor, I said to myself, oh, where's Leia at this point? And that's what it is. She's, like I said, she's about 14 at this point.
Yeah. No, I'd love to see more of Bale, because I think Jimmy Smits does a great job as the character.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, for someone that it was just a name for so many years to come in, and I think that's a unique thing for an actor. You've heard of Bale Organa for for like a couple decades before he gets an appearance, and it's Jimmy frickin' Smits. It's the guy from L.A. Law.
He seems like he's a good sport and that he likes doing Star Wars. So I mean, you know what? They had him around to film for Obi-Wan. It's like, just go over to this set and film these scenes.
Yeah. So I thought, if you're someone who loves Easter eggs, the little historical museum thing or shop that Luthen runs.
Yeah, a lot of stuff in there, right?
I mean, but there's other shows that will go into depth, but there was like a Mandalorian armor. There was a Gungan defense shield. There was
there was a helmet and some armor pieces that, if I understand this correctly, was from a character from one of the video games, and it's very prominent in the background. If I get that correct, right.
Yeah, I want to say Star Killer, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, I'm not up on the video games, but I heard that from multiple sources of the people who were just really surprised to see that in there.
Yeah, and then there's that Twi'lek carving that's big to the family, and it was a big part of Rebels. So there's a lot of stuff in there that.
That's what I love about Coruscant, is that there's everything and anything on that planet, and it's like, wow, what a cool thing in Star Wars to have an antiquities shop, and then you get to see a bunch of stuff like that.
Yep. So it would have been neat to see something like somebody's lightsaber, or he does give him a kyber crystal.
Yeah.
As down payment because Luthien offers to pay Cassian $200,000 to do this job, and gives him this crystal. He says it's worth about 50,000 credits, but it means more to me and I want it back.
Yeah.
So this is, so that's a blue kyber crystal.
Technically, he wouldn't have been able to have a lightsaber, or at least in my opinion, the Emperor would have forbidden any such a thing. Luthien would have really been risking a lot to have a lightsaber in that shop, or at least on view.
I think he could have had one if it didn't have a kyber crystal.
I would go so far as to say even just the image of it would be, the Emperor would forbid anything like that would even remind people of the Jedi, because remember, he does a wholesale program to almost wipe them out of everybody's memory to an extent.
You're right.
I think it would have been funny if they would have had some Ewok thing, a primitive Ewok drum head or something.
Or a spear. The head of a Gungan. A Gungan. That would have been awesome.
Yeah. When are we going to get an actual Gungan in one of these shows, in one of these Star Wars?
We might get one, because Jar Jar would be around at this point on Coruscant. Wouldn't that be
what's interesting about if I was Jar Jar at this point, I would have thrown myself off of a bridge when I realized what I'd done. Basically he's responsible for Palpatine becoming the Emperor. I don't know. I honestly, I think that I can't. I think Jar Jar would have left and gone back to Naboo in shame, that he wouldn't have been able to stand being there and watching, and especially after Padme's death.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know. They've done so many things. It's like, do they have the balls to do something with Jar Jar to redeem Jar Jar Binks somehow? I don't
I'd
know.
like to see them do like a Punisher style thing with him after Padme's death and the guilt he feels, that he goes full on like vigilante and starts like guerrilla warfare against the Empire.
Yeah.
You know, Misa kick ass. Yeah.
Misa go postal on you. Okay, that's high concept, Dan. I think you better write that one up. Come on, you've got connections.
Oh man! All right, let's go ahead and talk about our final show.
Yes.
Rings of Power.
Yes.
Now,
wow. Let me just say, wow.
Yeah, wow is great. But first thing, going into the episode, they've got these 4 factions they've been following. And you've got, Galadriel over in Numenor with Halbrand. You've got Arondir and Bronwyn and the Orcs. You've got the Harfoots with Nori and the Stranger. And then you've got Elrond and Durin and the Mithril.
Mm-hmm.
And what's been happening is they've kind of rotated, like, well, we're going to focus on 3 of them, and this one will take a rest. Okay, this week, that one will take a rest. We'll focus on these 3. Last week, they actually got all 4 groups in.
Right. Mm-hmm.
This week, they came along and went, Elrond, Durin, we know you guys are fun. We love you guys. Take a break. Just go over there. We'll get back to you next episode.
Yeah.
Nori, Stranger, same thing. Go over there. We're going to deal with the very dramatic ones, okay? We're going to focus on the dramatic people.
Mm-hmm.
And what you end up with is the 2 groups on a collision course.
Yeah.
Through this. And I didn't even realize that, because I knew that, in this, the Queen, the Queen Regent and Galadriel and Halbrand and all of them are on the boats and they're taking off, but it doesn't seem like they're going to be able to get there in time.
Yeah.
So this is like a Helm's Deep thing, and orcs are invading.
Exactly that.
And Arondir is brilliant. The trap he sets for them in the castle, and then, to me, that's just chef's kiss is how they do it. But you have this battle, that you have this incredible emotional battle, and the humans are victorious, and then you find out, nope, you weren't fighting the orcs, you were fighting the people that bailed on you.
Yeah, your own people. Yeah.
And then the orcs came in, and it's starting to be a decimation. And as things are, and it looks like everything is falling apart, suddenly the people from Numenor show up, and you get the big ride of the horses, and you get a Sildor and a Longdeer.
You almost expect, the cavalry's here.
And Galadriel comes riding in, like half hanging off her horse, and Halbrand is kicking ass, and you're like, damn, that guy, he is our Aragorn. So, and it is just this big emotional battle scene, and they're victorious, and you have that victorious moment, and then right near the end they go, no, it's and
no again.
And what happens next, you're just like, holy shit. Because it's like, did they just create Mount Doom?
Yes, they did. Yes, that is exactly what they did.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's like Mordor is born.
Yeah. What I love about this episode is it went on and on and on and on, but in a good way. I'm like, look, like, well, it's got to be ending about right now. And it's like, nope, we're going to escalate it one more time. Oh,
Yep.
okay, it's done now. Nope, we're gonna keep doing that. It was like one big sequence after another, and I said to myself, if this doesn't convince a good portion of the naysayers, then I just don't know what will. That delivered on every level and every way. What an episode, and then to end the whole thing with the creation of Mount Doom. I
Yeah.
mean, wow. Like, I don't know, like, whatever happens next episode, I feel bad for the next episode to have to follow this one.
Oh yeah. It's almost like when they're breaking this episode down, they're like, okay, we're gonna have this scene, we're gonna kick him in the groin here. Then we're gonna have this scene, and we're kicking the groin again, and then we'll have vague ending.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like,
okay, is Sauron in this thing at all anywhere? No, he's not yet.
No,
I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either, and it's fine.
Yeah.
We don't need him.
They still keep throwing out the red herrings with Halbrand, but it's too on the nose. I've said it before.
Yep.
It's no. It's just not. I never imagined Adar becoming such a fascinating character. And when he says that thing about, I guess that, I'm not the only one touched by darkness. It's like, yeah, Galadriel, you're getting a little dark there. Hey, buddy, I think what we'll do is we'll just kill all your little orcs and I'll just go around and make sure they're all dead. And then I'm going to come to you and say, guess what? Everybody you ever, loved or whatever is all dead. And then I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. It's like, wow, that's kind of harsh.
Yeah.
Elf of Light.
Yeah. I hope she gets like a spa moment at some point because that's what she needs.
Oh yeah. I mean, I did not expect this episode.
No,
I did not expect it to be so big and so.
What is it? It was number 6, right?
So there's 2 left in this.
You would have thought it would have been in the center, but I mean, I don't know. So I'm again, it's like, I'm going to assume that what if they said, you know what? That was nothing. Here comes episode 7 and 8, and we're really going to blow you away. This is going to be one reveal after another. And
knowing they're doing 5 seasons, this would have been my episode 8. This is where I would have ended season 1.
Yeah, you end with Mount Doom. Oh, no.
We ain't seen nothing yet.
So now imagine what the heck is going to be at the end of episode 8. I'm going to say reveal of Sauron, reveal of who the stranger is, I guess. I mean, it's not going to be fall of Numenor. I think they're gonna hold off on that, because if they follow Tolkien, Sauron has to be captured in Middle Earth and taken back to Numenor. So I mean, we might not get Fall of Numenor until 3rd or 4th season, maybe.
Yeah, the fact we know they're doing 5 seasons, they can spread this out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just there's so much more they can do, and it's just kind of surprising that we got to this point already. Because I thought we'd have the Southlands for a while,
right?
And suddenly those what the orcs were digging.
Yeah, the earthworks.
That's what they were doing. Yeah, they were sending all the water. And that's why they needed the sword to open floodgates.
And this is interesting. I was watching one of the Nerd of the Rings, the breakdown for this one, and I was reading the comments, and somebody said, I'm an expert in volcanology, or I can't remember how he said it. And he said, that is absolutely correct. That's what would happen if all that water poured into all that lava down there. He said, yep, that's what would happen. And the whole thing with the lightning up and above that's around, that supposedly volcanoes blowing off like that can create lightning.
I could see that.
So as fantasy like that was, supposedly that's pretty much what would happen in
Yeah,
that situation.
and again, this looks spectacular.
It really does. Yeah.
And it's a TV show,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what still blows my mind about it is that they're definitely putting the money into the look of the show.
Yeah.
They're not cutting corners anywhere.
Yeah.
My nephew watched the first 15 minutes of the first episode. He hasn't had a chance to until now, but he said he watched the first 15, and that's what he came away with was they've got the money for it. He said, because everything was this big grand scope shot. And I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't stop. They haven't cut corners since then.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't, it feels like a continuation of the Peter Jackson films.
Yeah.
This happily lives in that same universe.
Yeah.
And I'm good with that. I'm good with the characterizations. I know there's a lot of negativity. There's a lot of negativity on the internet. Have you heard about that? Yeah. Surprising.
Newsflash.
All 3 of the shows we're talking about, there's a bunch of negativity towards them for dumbass reasons.
Yeah.
But
I posted the other day on Facebook complaining about Galadriel in the second age not seeming like Galadriel in the third age is like complaining that 27-year-old me is nothing like 57-year-old me. Well, newsflash, guess what? At 57, I'm a different person than I was at 27. I don't understand anybody not getting the thing is that, guess what? She's got some things to learn and that will change her into the person that we see in the third age. It's as simple as that. She's in her, let's say she's in her 30s, now elf, whatever that translates into elf years or whatever. And when we see her later, she's going to be in her late 50s, maybe, or 60. Different person.
She reminds me of, and this is going to be a very vague reference, but we got the time. There's an author named Kevin Hearn. He does a book series called The Iron Druid, and he's doing a spin-off series now called Paper and Blood. And in the Paper and Blood series, he introduces a character named, I think it's Doris. And Doris is a receptionist for the main character. But every time they talk about her, they give like this full name, but it's not a name. She's Doris who has seen some shite. And you find out as the series goes on, she has seen some shite. And I think the Galadriel we get in Lord of the Rings, the Peter Jackson stuff, compared to that's Galadriel who has seen some shite.
Yeah, all right.
Compared to Galadriel who's just very angry.
Yeah.
So
it's the angry young man thing. When the thing about you're a young man and you get involved in politics or the environment or whatever, and you're angry and you're a protester and you want to do all that, and then you learn how the world really works and it changes you and you get older. Yeah, that's totally what's going on here. Who at this point is your favorite character in the entire series?
I really like Durin. I really like Durin. The voice, the say it again.
Who is in whose hands? He
has got such a way about him. And I'm really liking Elrond, which I didn't like him in the. That's another character that's like that grows so much.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, and you don't really hear the complaining about him. It's all Galadriel because she's a woman, but So see, now it's Galadriel for me. Every time she's on screen, every time that actress is on screen, I hang on every word and I'm fascinated by by the character, and always reminding myself, my God, she's already lived thousands of years, and she's already seen stuff, and she's going to see a lot more as this goes on. Did you walk away from the scene with her and Halbrand thinking that that was supposed to be a little bit of romance there? You did? Okay. I kind of didn't. I kind of saw it more as you're in battle with somebody and you get swept up in the passion of battle, not necessarily a romantic passion. I hope that's not what's going on, but I have a feeling that it is, because that will be one more way to really shove the knife in her and twist it even more. If he, not that he becomes Sauron, although but just that if he falls, or he turns bad, or he does become one of the ring wraiths or whatever, that it's going to be that much more devastating. I don't know if you're aware of this, but in Tolkien, she's married at this point.
Yeah.
But they haven't gone into that at all. That will be a pretty big departure.
Yeah.
I don't know how they could possibly fit it in now without it making it seem like, oh yeah, and by the way, I'm married. It's
But
an
then,
interesting.
have we really seen what marriage means to elves?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? I mean, is it a more of a casual thing? Is it, I dedicate my life to you, but if I want to go Jones on this guy,
Yeah, they could do it where they introduce him, and then and the people who don't really know Tolkien will get the scene where, well, Galadriel, don't you have anything to say to your husband? Bum bum bum. Whereas a lot of other people who know Tolkien will already know that's coming, but there'll be an awful lot of people watching this show that will get that big what, and then maybe that's at the end of a season,
yeah,
and we don't, or they don't find out what the deal is on it. It'd be
yeah,
very interesting, because he is not an unimportant character. If they bring him in on this, it'll be really interesting. And what they could do is, if they're going to do a romance, which I hope they don't, they could get into it and then bring in the husband and say like, hi,
yeah.
remember me?
Oh yeah, and then again, maybe with elves, it's like, look, you can fool around with a dwarf or a human or a hobbit or a dragon as long as it's not another elf.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah. It's more of an understanding. That you go, because you live so long, you just go off and do whatever the heck you want to do, and you
What
see each
happens
other.
in war stays in the war.
Yeah, pretty. Every 500 years, you see your spouse.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, we better wrap it up there. I know you got a place to be, so we are going to end it there. Thank you guys. Next week we will be talking about She-Hulk, Andor, Rings of Power, and Werewolf by Night. So join us there. Thank you guys for tuning in.